Look at look at this like professional setup here. Look, I got the computer screen behind me in case I want to talk about anything. You know, I got the
Do you
light.
wanna
I got the purple light.
do you
I got
wanna
the key light on my face. Like you guys can you like what is this? You know, I'm seeing more of your forehead, if anything. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I'm gonna remove you from this.
Yeah,
Um
exactly.
I know MK's really just coming for my life right
Also
now.
repping the gear for my sister's gear. Shout out to Aisha Haroon. Go and get her merch online. It happy looks good on you. I think you can find it on like aishaharoon.com, something like that. I think that's the site.
Yeah, it's still available before
Yeah.
forever.
Get her tote bags. She's got hats. She's got I don't know, the crew
Oh,
neck.
out actually.
Well, you know, you put yourself on the email list and get an email whenever whenever it comes on. You know, whenever it's restocked.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start. So, what are we gonna talk about? We're talking about real friends. I have it over here on the side. I have a second screen if y'all can't see.
I have my
Over
screen.
here.
Thank you
So,
very
for a
much.
second screen on the side. So I can actually talk about this stuff. You should just do all the podcasts like this.
Mm,
But yeah, so let's start with the first topic then. What was this? It says, so our topic today is about real friends.
hmm
And it says, do you think you are a good friend? Why or why not?
Yeah. And by the way, guys, like this is gonna be, like a very interactive type episode. So we want to hear from you guys. I think that it's a good way to like end off season 2, and eventually when we get into season 3, the comments are really distracting me. I'm trying really hard not to read them. But yeah, gonna get started. Amir, I'm actually gonna ask you the question first. Like, do you think that you're a good friend? Why or why not?
Well, technically, I asked you first, so you know, say, why you gotta put it on me? Am I
Okay,
a good friend? I'm not the best friend, if that makes sense. You
why
know,
not?
I'm very like, you know, you know what? If I'm the type of friend, like everybody has, like you know, the go-to friend. Like if you need emotional comfort, you go to a certain friend. If you need like someone to, I don't know, drive you somewhere, you got that friend. If you need someone to like put something together for you or do some type of handiwork for you, that's me. I'm that guy. Okay. So like what exactly is a real friend? What's the definition of a real friend? Right? It's different. Like a friend is a friend. You know, it's like if as long as they're not like talking bad about you behind your back or anything, I don't think that there's real definition on what a friend is, if that makes sense. Just like the definition is very simple. I think it's just someone you can trust in and rely on, right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you said it in a good way. But also, I guess I was asking you that question to your standards. Like, from what you feel like is a good friend, do you feel like to all the friends that you have in your life, like you could go to sleep at night and think,
So my gauge is very like my bar is very low for what I consider a friend. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Like if I feel like he can trust you, and I like I can like anybody. A lot of people are. I don't know. Like if I can trust that person, or if I feel like I can talk to them and they're like very friendly and like we can like what do you call it? Relate on a few things, then I'll just consider them being a friend, right?
really?
Like yeah. Like there are different levels to it, right? Like it's a friend is different than someone I'd call like fam, if that makes sense. You can have family who's not your real fam.
So they're just like a best friend.
Yeah, exactly. Fam is like that level above.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I think if I was to answer the question, if I think that I'm a good friend, yeah, I think that, to my definition
Hmm.
of what a good friend is, I think that to all of the friends that I have, and you can answer this honestly as a cousin slash friend, they're dependable. And I think you said, like, you provide that, like, if you need something, if you need me, I'll be there. I feel like I'm there, like, emotional support. I may not be able to like put something together for you, so like don't call me, call Amir. But if you need emotional support or just life advice, this because I'm smart, just kidding,
Mm-hmm.
then, I got you. But we're getting a couple of questions, so I'm just gonna pause on answering our own and see what
But
we.
you never defined what your idea or what your definition of a friend is.
Um, well, okay, so similar to you, my definition of a friend or a good friend is someone who I can trust, someone who's like dependable slash reliable, and someone who's like-minded, as in we have some sort of commonalities. Because like you can meet people at school, you can meet people at work, and like you're friends because of close proximity, because you see them every day and you have to interact with them.
Mm-hmm.
But then if
Stop
you
looking at the comments to answer your question.
off so much right now, but if you're friends with someone because you genuinely enjoy their company and it's like a mutually beneficial relationship, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's a good friend. Like I get something out of you, you get something out of me, type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what
Okay, so I feel like everybody has a very similar definition to what a friend is.
Yes and no, because I feel like different people look for different things in friendships. Like for all of you guys that are watching, I think your mom's watching too. I can see her username. But for all of you guys that are watching, I want to read what you guys are saying of what you think is a real friend. But let me just go through some of the comments here. Let's see. This person said, I don't have friends, but I have associates. I will always be there for a friend. I don't let many people into my inner circle. I think a lot of people kind of are on that same wavelength.
Mhm.
But do y'all believe that you should marry your best friend, or that your spouse should become your best friend after marriage? I mean, we're not really talking about marriage right now, but to answer the question, because I read it, ideally it would be great to marry your best friend, I think, right? The next thing says, I feel like you can find a friend in anyone, teacher, colleagues, family. It's really about how kind the person is. If you're kind to me, vice versa. Okay, so that person's criteria is like the kindness towards you. Bye. I know.
Oh, is Noof leaving?
Yeah,
No.
sorry. Um, someone said this sounds like the black men don't cheat. This sounds like the black men don't cheat. Yeah.
Wait, someone is putting words in my mouth. They said this sounds like Black Men Don't Cheat podcast because Amir really said women are only good for emotional support and men are good for building things. I never said men or women. Did I say men or women?
You did say that though. You did say that in the episode. I watched it back.
No. I mean, like right now, did I say that? When I was defining like the different types of friends you might have.
Yeah, but you said that you weren't necessarily the best person to go to for emotional support, but you could like build things and like do favors and stuff.
Yeah, so I didn't say like go to a woman for emotional support and look at me to build things. Well, technically, I said that in the men don't cheat thing, but I'm just like I didn't do that. Yeah, whatever. You're implying things here that I said in a previous episode. My opinion could have changed by then. You never know. Okay, I'm just saying.
Did it?
We'll not talk about that now.
Okay, MK says, I think a real friend is one who doesn't put pressure on the friendship. It should feel effortless and have understanding, trust, and comfort. Yes, I totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
This person said, I group people into either acquaintances or family. Like this friend thing is mad overrated. Okay.
So maybe just your word for friend is different.
Yeah, I think people view the word or how they view, because some people view a friend as a big deal. Like to become their friend, you have to pass all these non-existent tests type of thing, right? And then to other people, it's like you have one interaction and it's a good one. It's like, all right, yeah, that's my friend. They can use that term loosely. You know what I mean? Let me see. This person said, I think as you get older, your friend circle may get smaller because you start to develop as a person, and as life gets busy, you don't have time for everyone the way you might have when you were younger. True. That is true. I feel like as you get older, your friend circle does get smaller, or you could be lucky enough to have a big friend circle for your entire life. I feel like for myself, I kind of grew up with the same group of girls, and we're still friends to this day, alhamdulillah. Like we might not be in the same continent, but we're all still friends. I actually have one here. She's gonna be my co-host while you're over.
Oh, okay. Y'all don't even have you guys don't even have a tripod like I do.
I know all the gear is at Amir's house, okay? I have my real friends.
Yes.
Here, come over. Okay. She is here from Australia. This is Amina, aka the guy who was on our podcast last week. That's her husband.
Yes.
Her wife. He has a name.
I wasn't gonna introduce her as Khalid's wife. He's Amina's husband.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just kidding. He's also here. Khalid's also here.
Yeah.
Do you think it's harder to make friends as you get older, and why? Actually, that's one of our questions. I'm gonna direct that to you. Okay. So here's a little bit of background info on Amina.
Wow. Really putting me on the spot now.
Amina, moved to Australia when she got married, and anyone who knows, when you're moving to a new city after growing up in your hometown, you're forced to make new friends because otherwise you don't have a social life. So how that experience for you? Because you were obviously an adult at that point.
Yeah.
So it's okay. I'll clean it up later. So how was your experience making that move and making friends? I'm just gonna put you on camera more.
Wow,
Don't be shy.
But I think, well, going back a bit, like you said, like we kind of grew up together, right? So like our friendship came really naturally. And then you start this new life, you get married, you move to a whole new country, and then you're like in a room full of people, but you don't know where your friends are anymore. I think that was like the hardest adjustment. Yeah, because you take it for granted. Like you walk into a room here, you're like, okay, that's my friend, that's my friend.
Yeah.
You might have acquaintances, but your close friends, you know who they are.
Yeah.
So I think I was kind of at an advantage because my husband has a sister, and then she has her friends, and I met a lot of them that way. Another thing was when you kind of go from one community to another, like our community is very tight knit. So I met a lot of people in the community that way. And then I've been in Australia for 4 years now. So later on, as I started working and stuff, I actually made friends through work. And then you mentioned like finding common interests as well. So I think finding people that had the same interests as me, like I met friends through that. Yeah, that was basically the main places I meet my friends.
Her name is Amina, by the way. I don't know if I introduced her. Amina. Did you feel like, although you were making these friends in Australia, did you always feel like, a part of you wishes that you could have those lifelong friends that get you, that you can have that like nonverbal communication, when we'd like talk with our eyes?
100%. So I think like one of the things you don't realize is like a lot of our conversations are like memories. Like we're like reminiscing on like past events. And you don't realize it till you're in a different setting with people who are doing the same thing. And you're like, oh, like I'm not a part of these memories. And then you kind of try to relate to the story. So you're like, oh, like I don't relate to the story, but like, it's cool. Like it's a funny memory and it's really fun to hear about it, but you're not there for it. But it also made me realize like how it can make someone feel like an outsider. So I think now I'm more conscious of like how I am around other people as well. Like if you're in a circle and you see someone that's not a part of the circle, try to make them feel welcome. Yeah. Like being conscious of what you're talking about so that they don't feel left out as well. That's something that took me a while to realize, but definitely like being in that situation myself, when I see people in similar situations, like I'm more conscious of it.
So you like put in more of that effort to make sure that other people feel welcome.
They feel welcome. So like, let's say we're talking about a story from back in the day, like try to give them like a back story to the story so they understand the context of it. Yeah. So they're not like confused or like, what are you guys talking about? But yeah.
MK says, that's how I felt when I moved too. It's like a new season of your life with new characters.
Oh my God, so true. That's
a good way of putting it. MK, do you want to come on and share a little on the spot?
I feel like we had like the reverse situation.
Yeah, because he's an Aussie who moved to Toronto
Mm-hmm.
Had to make new friends and navigate, you know, through this new season of his life, as he said. So it's like all the main characters in your life they were all killed off. Sure, okay. I don't know how to request you, so I think
he has to request.
MK, I think you have to request. If you guys are longtime viewers, you would have remembered MK. I think you were like the first person in our Spotlight series, right?
I think so, yeah.
I feel like you were. I think you were the first. So OG right here. Yeah. So I mean, on the topic of making friends as an adult, I kind of want to hear, you know, your experience, because I think you knew a couple people before you moved here, right?
Yeah, I knew a few people, and like naturally because I'm like I like meeting people. Like it wasn't tough to meet people, but it was like tough to like understand new relationships, you know, because I can talk like it wasn't a problem for me, you know, or like going out and meeting new people, but like having to like your friends, like I mean I can relate to this. You can just call like your friend like, hey, do you want to do something, for example, you know? Or like do you want to do this, or like you're familiar with places, or you know if you go somewhere you're gonna see someone, or like you know. So it was like none of that, like you know everywhere you go, and you're kind of tied to like whoever you're going with, you know, because they know everyone. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it was. I'm not gonna lie, like it was a lot tougher than I thought. But then you kind of you kind of navigate through it, you know. But there are days where like, you know, you just miss your friends, you know. Like you're like, oh, I wish like my friends were here, or like, you know, I could just go out.
Wait, my question is, after you get married, does all those feelings kind of go away? And you're like, I got like a built-in friend to kind of do things with now, so I don't even really need more.
Yeah, you're both married, so you can answer that.
I mean, I'm not married just yet, but
Well,
but yeah, but I mean, like to be honest, I like with my partner, like my friends are like a lot of the friends I met now were through her, right? Like you know, so like just like her friends' partners, for example, or like you know, and they've been really nice, you know. So like they've really brought me in and like you know, helped me meet new people and whatnot. But it's really hard because like I've known all my friends for like you know 18, 19 years plus, right? So like it's people that you can't. It's really hard. I think the problem is comparison. That's what it is, right? Like you meet people and you're like. It's really hard not to compare, like, oh, my friends are like this and my friends are like that, for example, right? Or like you have like your inside jokes
like,
and
exactly. You know? I think it's like realizing like this is a different relationship. Like I think you try to find similar friends. Like you try to be friends with someone, but then you have to like, this is a new friend and you're gonna have a different relationship with them.
So when you first went, were you looking for like, okay, I need to find like my Sarah, I need to find my Hannah, I need to find. Were you trying to look to like
my
Iman? No, I'm just.
I think.
Who's next to you?
Huh? Iman's off. We have a whole audience in the background.
Okay.
Iman.
Yeah, like I think like I don't know if you remember MK. Like I actually messaged you about your like.
yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Ooh. Sorry. I think like I really related to that because like no matter like the fact I made friends and that wasn't the issue. It's the fact that I couldn't like it's just such a different feeling. And now 4 years later, like I have an amazing relationship with a lot of people, and like I feel so connected to those people as well. So now I have multiple friends, and it's like I never thought I'd be in a place where it's like those are like my really close friends as well, but I also have you guys as well. Like it's so interesting
to get the best of both worlds.
Yeah,
it's you know what, like you have like you know that handsome man behind you, you know. What's going on, bro? But like I know a lot of the Harris in Melbourne. Like I know a lot of them, right? And I know they're all great people, right? So like I can see the support system that you would have like you know received, or the people that you would have met, you know. But what I found here is like I think Canada's different to Australia. I don't know, I'm not being biased, but I feel like here everyone's so caught up like in everything that they're doing. Like it's really tough to kind of like, and you kind of almost feel like I don't want to like interrupt people, or I don't want to whatever, right? But like in Australia, everyone's always down for something, like all the time, you know?
I felt the same way though about Melbourne because like I feel like everyone kind of was living their life as it was, right? Like people did make time for me as well, but I feel like there's only so much they can do. Like everyone's working at the beginning. I wasn't working at the beginning. So I feel like trying to like adjust and work around people's schedules. Like there's people that really made an effort to like be like, hey, let's go get coffee, or like people that would call and be like, how are you? And I don't think people realize how much that meant. Like just call how I was like, whoa, like that's really like something that helps you get through it. But yeah, like I'd be like, when people are living their lives, it's like you don't want to disrupt their life.
Yeah, it's tough, and then also you kind of like, because you're new, you don't want to be that person, right? Like, you know, she always wants to hang out or he always wants to do something, you know, type of thing. So it puts this weird pressure on you. Like, you don't really know how to navigate. Like, I think alhamdulillah, like, it's going to be 1 year for me next week, right? Wow. Like, I moved here, right? And I'm like, now I can really, like, I know how to navigate it better. Like, I know how, like, things work. And I've kind of developed some relationships with some people, right? So, like, it's easier for me to kind of, you know, like, hey, let's do something, or like I know where to go and I know what to do, type of thing, you know. But
was I think find that, like, to find people to like, let's say like you wanted to just call someone, like was it hard for you to find that person, or were you calling back Melbourne and talking to your friends from Melbourne?
Oh, I was calling my friends every day when I came here, like every single day. I was looking at my time. I'm like, what's the time? Like, you know, calling them. Like, they were sick of me. They're like, you called us more when you're out than you're here, right? So like,
probably the hearts right now. They're just like, yeah.
They're just like, not this guy again, you know. But like now, like, well, here I met a couple of guys when I first moved here, and one of them lives really close to me. So like, he was always like checking up on me, like, hey, what are you doing? Like, you know, if you want to do something. He was like super solid, you know. Then he moved. He left Canada, right? So, but then I have another couple of friends who are also like always, you know. It's much better now, alhamdulillah. Like I definitely, you know. But I think also the age that I moved at is much more different. Like if you move younger, it's probably a little bit easier. But when you've kind of established a lot of friendships and you've met a lot of people, and you know you know your way around and like whatnot, you know, it's really hard to kind of like, now the people I meet here, like I can consider them friends, but like it'd be very tough for me to like compare it to my friendships back home, like, if that makes sense. And I think it's only fair because of, you know, time and experiences and memories and whatnot. So
can I ask you guys, okay, maybe because we all are similar in the sense that like we grew up with our friends, whether we met them through school or, you know, Saturday school, whatever the case may be, or their family or whatever. When you had the opportunity to now choose your friends, what do you look for? Or like, you know, who do you choose to surround yourself with? Like, what is it that you look for when you're like, you know, I want this person around me more? Like, what's that thing that you notice and you're like, yeah, this is the person that I want to be friends with?
Do you want to answer first?
Me?
No, Amina.
Amina?
Anybody can.
I feel like this is open, so any
Let's
of you.
get your mind on this.
Yeah, I would say loyalty is like one of the big things, and like trust, because like, you know, you're gonna go through ups and downs with anybody, but like, I just need a friend that's gonna be loyal to me, like no matter what I go through, like positive or negative. You know what I mean?
Do you have like some sort of like, how do you test loyalty though?
Ooh. You can't really test loyalty. You just kind of have to just go through the motions with them. Like, you know, either they burn trust, or they prove themselves, I guess you could say. Yeah.
Okay.
They just have to stand the test of time, pretty much. Yeah. How about for you?
I feel like guys don't really. Okay, maybe I'm generalizing. For me, myself, I don't think I've ever actively looked for a friend or tried to like define when I'm making a friend. If that makes sense. Like usually it's like you interact with them a couple of times, like, okay, you're cool, and then you see them again, you interact with them, and you're like, you know what, you're cool, and then like, you know, like just at that point you're friends. It's like there's no like.
That's all it takes.
Yeah, it's like that video you see where like at the gym, you walk by the guy one day, you don't say anything. The next day you pass him, you like give him a nod. The next day you give him a dap up real quick, and then like the next week you guys are like best friends, giving each other spots, talking to each other, you know each other's life story. It's like for guys, I feel like it's very just, you know, just go with the flow. You don't actively think, do I like trust this man? Like, I don't know, will I have him as my wedding?
Like deep conversations with those friends though? Like, do you open up?
Yeah, like sometimes you'll just have like some deep conversations. Like I'm not a very guarded person to kind of have those conversations, right? I'd rather hear from someone who might not know too much to kind of get an unbiased opinion, or like Yeah, I'm very unguarded with that kind of stuff.
Okay. Khalid, do you have,
I disagree. Like, I feel like I won't open up. Like, I have my specific friends where, like, I can be friends with anyone as well. Like, if I see someone, then I can have a good time. Like, we can spend hours together. Or we can, that might be. Then I have, like, my specific like, brothers where I can say, you know what, I have this issue. And then, like, you know. So I think that's the difference. With guys, I think it's very chill where we with anyone, we can speak to anyone, we can have fun with anyone. But when it comes like the deep like issues, I'd say like I have certain people that, hey man, look what I need. And
you have her?
her as well. But if you talk about like making friends, like males, if you talk about males, that's how I see it. But yeah, definitely married as well. Like you have someone else.
Mm-hmm. For some reason, the sound is like cutting out for Khalid who's speaking there. I'm not sure if because I don't think was it a sound from either me.
No, I was breaking up. Khalid was breaking up.
Oh, really? You guys hear him properly?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was cutting out a little bit.
Probably the Wi-Fi.
Nah, but it's all good. We got the gist of what he was saying there.
Okay. He
Yeah, but that's why I didn't want to generalize because I realized that like this is probably just me, right? And I feel like that's why it's different for everyone, right? It's very hard to give a very like there's no fact to anything that we're really.
Amir, do you see them as good friends though, or do you just see them as like your buddies, like your gym buddy or whatever? Like, because I'm kind of like I'm torn between what you said and what Khalid said, right? Because I can kind of get a lot. Like the first time I met you, I'm like I can get along with this guy, you know, like we're gonna be cool, right?
quick though, but you had similarities, like your personalities were very
that's what I mean, right? But I can also really get along with Khalid, right? Like, but I think it just like it depends on like what you're talking to that person about type of thing. So I kind of relate to what Khalid was saying because like back home in Australia, like I know a ton of people, right? Like, and I can hang out with almost any of them, right? But I have like 3-4 specific people that I like if I need something, if like they need me, if I can rely on, I can like there's like a lot more to I can consider them like actual real friends, right? Like because I think the distinction between a friend and like an acquaintance, like it's kind of blurred sometimes because you can be hanging out with someone every single day, but you don't really consider them as a they're just a good time. So
I look
so that's why I guess for everybody's different, and maybe I'm being swayed by you guys as well. What did you say, Sarah?
I'm just reading this comment that we got.
You want to read it here?
It says, I look for friends who, true. I look for friends who I feel aren't judgmental, I can trust, talk to about anything, have fun. Most important, friends who are oriented to the deen and remind me of Allah. That's actually a really good point. And I think all of us kind of skated over, like, as Muslims, I think that when you think of a real, you don't just think about like a friend who's beneficial for you, like for in this life. I don't know if you guys compartmentalize those types of friendships because I do. I know that I have certain friends for if I want to have a good time, certain friends that I know who are for, my hereafter. And I think that friends who are beneficial for your hereafter are so important. And I think low-key underrated. So if you have a friend that reminds you of the deen and reminds you to be better, I'm like, hold on to them, let them go.
So you're kind of just repeating what I said at the beginning. We have friends for different things. I'm just saying, so.
Whatever, fine.
I don't know. I really think like what I said earlier. Like I like effortless friendships. Like I like friendships where like if I don't call you for a week because I'm like drowning in work, like you're not gonna be mad at me because I didn't call you, right? Or like you're not gonna hold it against me, or like if I called you after a month and I'm like, hey, can you give me a lift? You're not gonna be like, oh, you haven't spoken to me, Like I like those friendships because it's just like I don't expect everyone to always have time for me. Like I understand life gets in the way and whatnot, And as long as you have good like understanding of each other's lives and how things go, like because I don't know, like people I consider close to me are like I've known them for 15 years plus, and I've never had issues with them, And there's some people that I've attempted to be friends with, and quickly I had to like back off because I realized it was just too much work, like being their friend. And like
how do you do that? When you feel like it feels unnatural you're almost like forcing the friendship, and you want to. How do you do that?
I think I'm just like I'm very like blunt this way. So like I'll just say what I want. I'll back off. I'll like move myself, and I'll say like, look, I don't have time. Like, and if they keep asking, I'll tell them straight out. I'm like, this is just it's too much for me. Like I can't sustain this. So and it's not fair on you. Like if you're expecting things from me and I can't do it. So
Do you think that got older though? I feel like when I was younger, it's very hard for me to kind of, like, if I had a friendship that was toxic, it would be very hard to step back. But I feel like as I get older now, like, I differentiate between me and that are not good for me. So do you think that's age?
it is with age, because when I was younger, I would feel bad. I'd feel completely bad. I can't do that. Like I look like I look too like I'm acting too good for somebody, whatever the case may be. But like now I just understand, and like I don't feel bad anymore, because like I have to value my time as well, and like what I have going on, right? Like because my life's different to what I was when I was 18 or 19, right? So like you have to just know where to draw the line, because then I found in my experiences, if you let people go too far, the more you allow, the more that will happen, right? So like you have to kind of draw the line somewhere. So
Kind of going back to what you were saying before as well, like I feel like after you leave your home city or whatever, you really have to take into consideration that everyone's living their own life, and you can't hold things against people. Like that was really hard for me to realize at the beginning. Like there'd be friends that I can speak to like for like 6 months, but then when we spoke, it was normal. Like it wasn't weird. And I think we both had the understanding, like we're both living our life. And when we talk, like if everything feels normal, it's cool. There's some awkward, like it's like it is what it is.
Can I ask something though? When was the last time you came back to Canada?
4 years ago.
Okay, so how is it now that you came back 4 years later?
It's so weird because it feels like I never left.
Okay, so
Like,
that's what I was worried about. Like when I go back home, I'm gonna be like. And I was talking to Khalid about this one. I don't even remember. You asked me, Khalid. You're like, well, we go every year, but we haven't been able to.
Yeah.
We're talking on Instagram, but like I feel like now when I go back home, I don't know what to expect, kind of thing, right? Because like I've never been away from home this long, right?
Yeah.
So.
No, like I've never left Toronto before, and then I just went. I never came back, but it literally feels like I never left. Like there's a lot of things that changed. Things happen.
Eglinton's still under roadworks. Don't worry about it.
Construction is disgusting. Oh my god!
Look at you making Toronto jokes.
Come on. Yeah.
That's so funny.
We got
there was someone asking like, how do you make friends when you're older and you don't have those skills?
I think it kind of starts off with like, if you're looking to make friends that have similar, like you guys are like-minded or anything like that, I think it starts with where you position yourself, right? So like if you're a student and you go to school, I think you're more likely to make a friend while you're at school, or if you work, you can become friends with one of your like coworkers, or I think nowadays, like are the dating apps. I know a lot of the dating apps also do it for like to make friends.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like there's like ones where you can just go on the dating apps, but they're like friend apps. So you can like match with people based on like similar commonalities or whatever it is that you look for. I know that it's hard, especially coming out of the pandemic. I know a lot of us developed like severe social anxiety. It's feel uncomfortable being out and about in public, but sometimes it's really just faking it till you make it, right? Like if you're on the street and you like someone's outfit, shoot them a compliment. Like when you genuinely compliment someone, that first of all, that brightens the day, but it makes them a little bit less defensive and more open to starting a conversation, I find. So
Also, I think something more pragmatic, or like something you can do locally, is like maybe joining a club of something that you are interested in. Like if you like sports, you can join a sports club for whatever sport you play. I don't know. If you like anime, you could probably find some anime club. If you like movies, I don't know. You can find a movie club. Just whatever. A chess club, I don't know.
Like I literally was gonna say that. Like before I came to Toronto, I went to boot camp, and it was all girls boot camp, and I met so many people in the. It was so interesting because I'm like, I didn't think to join that until now, but I met so many people like that as well. So you can really meet so many different avenues.
Yeah.
Sammy says, "You better cough up that gas money if you need." Right. I love that this ain't no Uber. We did get a question that I wanted to answer here. Someone said, "Do you guys feel like girls and guys can be friends, non-family members, and what age gaps? Are all of your friends around the same age?" Good questions. Who wants to answer that one first?
I did a whole podcast episode on this, so you should go listen.
I listened to that one
And
already.
it was a big fight.
I just wanted to comment on the friendship, like the age thing.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that, for example, in Toronto, we're very like separated by age. Like
Not really.
a lot of circles, I feel like are like a lot of us are close in age. Like we're not the same age,
Yeah.
or like age range.
Yeah, 2 years.
Yeah, like 2-3 years. But
Yeah.
then, like for example, like in Melbourne, like there's some groups that are like there's like so many different ages, and like I
Like
think
there's
it's-
like a 10-year gap. Wow.
I will have conversations with people like 10 years younger than me.
I mean, conversations and friends is different though.
That's true. I guess that, yeah, that's actually true. Friendships are different. But I feel like that's something that I've adjusted in my mind. Like, I will have conversations more with people regardless of their age. But in terms of like a friendship, like I feel like it's a lot harder to have a big age because you might not relate to the same. But I don't know, just I guess it depends on personal preference. But girls and guys being friends, I don't know how I feel.
I think it depends on like if you grew up with them like as like children. Like if you literally grew up together, then okay, that makes sense. Because like for all of us, we kind of all literally grew up in like the same building
But in
together.
here, we're also family, right? Like this is like outside of family. Like if you're not related.
No, but we have some like okay, maybe they'll be related to you, but they won't be related to me. But we consider each other family.
Yeah.
Are we talking religiously here, or how are we talking?
Like, do you believe that girls and guys with a familiar have platonic friendship?
I think it can happen, but I think this is how I feel about it. I think there's different friends for different stages of your life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I think like when you are married, for example, it's very difficult. Like as a married man, like I can still know you. We can be cool. We can be whatever, right? Like, but like I'm not gonna just have the same time, or like I won't just go hang out with you, or I won't just go do things that I would do when I wasn't married, for example. Just out of respect for my wife, right? Like, and I just don't think it's right,
Mm-hmm.
But I think my whole life I've had like I still have a lot of like platonic, good friendship with women, and like it's always been good, like it's never been a problem for me. But I just think it's different for different people. That's how I think it is. It's very subjective to the guy and the girl, like at the end of the day. Because some people really can't do it. So
I think as long as there's no, like, let's say you're both single and you're not married, as long as there's no attraction to each other, then I think it's very possible to have a platonic relationship. And then even if you're in a relationship or you get married, I feel with that natural progression in your life, you kind of end up being friends with like other married people. So like one couple will be friends with another couple. So, you might not be best friends with the person's wife, but you'll hang out on a consistent basis. You might hang out in a group setting and it's not like one-on-one, you know what I mean?
I think it also depends on the level of closeness as well. Like I think girls and guys can be friends, but I think it's like how close are you as friends? But yeah, like what you're saying.
Really, I feel like you can't be friends with a guy. Like girls and guys can't really be friends. I've had so many guy friends that are totally legit. And I guess I treat a guy like I treat a girl. And like you want to be close, intimate with friends, as in like have emotionally
Deep conversation.
Yeah, exactly. You want to have deep conversations with your friends. And unfortunately you can't have that close bond, that you girlfriend with a guy friend. So there has to be boundaries, and like definition of friendship really depends.
Can I ask why guy?
I think
Because
a lot
then
of
they
guys
become
are single.
I think we all know the answer to that question.
Your husband.
Well, not necessarily. I don't know. Like, I think boundaries are very important, but I still feel like if you both have an understanding that this just a platonic friendship, and you both agree to that, I think it's totally fine to confide in them as long as boundaries are established.
As long as they understand and are mature.
Yeah.
But sometimes, you know, boundaries.
I don't think guys should be confiding in. Well, it depends. It's to the extent, right? Like, I don't think guys should really be confiding in other girls
Yeah.
I
Really?
agree. I agree.
unless they're family.
Not even family.
Yeah, or not even family.
I don't know. I just don't. You know what? I'm gonna sit this one out because I have very strong views about this. So.
Hold up, MK. So if you have like a female cousin, you're not going to confide in her?
No, to be honest, I talk with my sister a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like I may like share some things with her, but I just don't think I'll fully confide in her. I just think I can probably confide in a mirror first before I confide in like a female friend of mine. I just won't, you know. And even though I don't know him that well, but I just think guys know how to give you like better, you know, like because they understand what you're going through more.
You just say guys are better at giving advice.
No, you're
No. It's not even that. But I just think if I sit with Khalid and be like, yo, Khalid, like, yo, I'm struggling with work, bro. Like, this is that. Like, he's gonna be able to give me like solutions, you know, that of situations that he might have gone through, for example, right? He may be able to relate to me just on like a man-to-man level, like of what I need to get done, right? But like I can talk to my sister and she's gonna be like, oh, it's okay, like don't worry, like things are gonna be okay, and it's gonna be like emotional support, which is fine, which is great. But I need like solutions. You know?
Get emotional. Like, do you feel that male friends can give you that emotion?
probably not.
No, I honestly believe so. Like I believe like I could talk to a guy, you know, like a guy friend of mine and like about a problem, whatever the case may be, and I can get some like, you know, solutions, right? Like, but if I talk to like, you know, it's just not. It's not even like a woman can't give me a good solution or whatever the case may be. But I just think guys can relate to you more, just because they go through similar situations in life.
But you have to have a relationship with a guy that you're open to talking against. Because I remember I was talking to some guys about this, and I said like, "What would you do if one of your friends like just started crying?" And he's like, "That would be so weird." And I'm,
It would be weird. What do you mean?
What? See? Don't even allow. He said it would be weird.
I'm checking.
but that's I think maturity thing. Like I think that person was just young, so that's why they said it. But I feel like as you mature a bit, like you would be there to support your friend emotionally. Yeah.
I mean, I've had some of my guy friends cry in front of me because they were going through like a really tough time, and I never looked at them any different.
Yeah, that's good.
I never have, and I never will, right? Just because I understand the level it takes you to get to that, like for you to be going through something that difficult that you have to cry, like it's big, right? Like, but I think guys it's probably better for a guy to cry in front of a guy than to cry in front of a girl.
Yeah. I mean,
Why?
I think a girl,
Support
I
each
think
other.
like, a girl can still provide that emotional support, but it's just in terms of being able to relate, like, yeah, cry with your guy friends. Like all of the guys that are watching the live right now, do you feel like, and if your other friends are in here, then depends on your comfort level, but do you feel like you have a safe space amongst your group of friends where if something's going on, you can just call up your homeboys and let out a good cry? Or do you just keep that stuff to yourself? Because like in groups of circles with guys, like, do you fear that vulnerability? Like, how does it work? Because with girls, like, I could call her tomorrow and be like, oh my God, like, this is happening. And you know what I mean?
Can I say something there? Like, I feel like for women, and like, I've always saw this, like, I have two sisters, right? And like, I've always saw, like, growing up, like, when they were cried, they would just get supported, right? My mom would be like, okay, don't cry. My dad would be like, don't cry, it's okay, whatever. Like, they'll get kind of like, looked after, like, But when I cried, I had things thrown at me. Right? So, my dad literally, if I could kill someone and he'd be like, it's okay. But if I cried, he'd be mad. Right?
This is toxic masculinity starts, though, is like, unfortunately,
It's African father, Sarah. I don't know. It's nothing new. I'm not any different than anyone else.
I know, but I'm just saying,
But I think naturally, like, I'm only making this point to what you said, because you said you can call up your girls and just cry, like, right? Like, but you allowed that space from time.
yeah.
Right? Like, most guys weren't allowed that space. Like, if you
why?
cry, but like from young, I'm talking from young, from like you being raised, you weren't allowed that space. So if my sisters were allowed that space at home, they could take it naturally out to their friends, for example. But if I wasn't allowed that space at home growing up, then I can't take that outside because from young I know that it's wrong. Like I can't do it, right? So like I can't really call up my boys and be like, "Yo, I need to let cry out." Like I can't even do it, right?
Amir, do you feel the same? And Khalid, do you feel like since like from a young age you guys weren't given that like that safe space to be vulnerable, to cry if you need to?
Oh, I've cried in front of like so many people. But that's like at funerals and stuff. It's like it's kind of expected at that point, right? But I've never been in a situation outside of that where I felt the need to cry, if that makes sense. And if I did, like, I would hold it in. But less for the other people, more for myself. It's like I want to keep it, for myself. I don't know. I like to be. I'm more shy about that kind of stuff.
So you do you have a fear of being vulnerable in front of other people?
No, because like if I did, then I wouldn't have cried at the funeral either.
But
No, but
funerals are naturally a sad place.
Yeah, you can
right?
cry.
It's safe. A funeral cry is the safest cry because everyone's crying. Like it's fine.
it's like
I guess so. Yeah.
funny, But if you're going through a tough time with whatever the situation is, do you feel like, do you have that? Do you hear my stomach? Yeah. Do you feel like you can't, like you have a fear, like you wouldn't, like even in front of me, if it was just me and you were recording and you're like, oh my God, Sada, I just can't right now because.
Can I ask you a question? Have you guys ever had like a heart-to-heart?
Me and Amir?
Yeah. Like Amir, have you ever been vulnerable?
Have we?
I don't think so.
Because I actually was reflecting on it because I was like, I don't think you've never had a heart-to-heart with me.
I don't think I've had a heart-to-heart with like anyone.
I think through the podcast, like we've had like much deeper conversations than I think we ever would in real life.
Yeah.
And like here and there, like off camera, I feel like we've talked about some things, but we've never gotten like too deep. I don't know if like, I'm not gonna lie to you. Sometimes I'm like scared to bring things up to you. I don't know why, because I know you're a non-judgmental person, but
yeah,
I don't know. I'm just scared.
I don't know. I heard a saying once where it's like a guy will never cry to you unless he really, really, really trusts you. And I feel like that's true. Like, I don't go to someone and say, "Hey, I need to cry." But like, but if I'm emotional and I really trust you, and I'm coming to you for a solution. And if I'm that emotional and I cry, well, I cry. But if it's in front of someone that you really trust, I feel like it's okay. Like you don't feel like, oh, I'm like, I'm not being a man or whatever it might be, whatever the stigma is. I don't know. I feel like I relate to that statement.
Mm-hmm. Well, I grew up in a home with two parents who perpetuate toxic masculinity, so.
Me too. I don't know. I can't do it. Like I can't. It's very hard. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I promise you. I tell you, wallahi, one time I went on YouTube and I typed in how to cry. Like I actually wanted to. Wallahi al-azim. Wallahi, I was in my bed and I typed in how to cry on YouTube. And like I was watching this thing where like you have to like hold your eyes for very long. I was just doing the most just to cry, and I just couldn't let it out. Like it just wouldn't
Look,
that's very.
It's very rare for me. If you ask Amina, or if you ask,
it's so tough. It's so tough. Like I don't.
Yeah.
I know the exact date I cried. It was 24th of August 2014 when my uncle died. Like I remember it.
Oh my God.
I mean, I'm sorry that you had that experience, because I really. On the other hand of it, first of all, I'm not a man, so no toxic masculinity was bred on my side, or it wasn't pushed onto me. I was actually always a very expressive child. All of my emotions came through to the degree.
Must be nice.
Like I hate showing emotion. Like I hate crying in front of people. Like that's so embarrassing to me.
I mean, no, like I don't think I'm like happily like, yeah, let me cry in front of this person I just met 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
But I'm also not afraid to express myself. Like if I'm upset, like now I think at the age that I'm at, after getting to know myself and like just really knowing how to handle my emotions, how to understand my emotions. Like I give myself that space to feel whatever it is I'm feeling. And if I need to cry, I'm gonna cry. Like I'm not gonna hold myself back, you know?
Like going, like I can literally count on my hand like how many times I've seen him cry. Like he does. We'll watch the saddest movie. You know when he cried from a show? Ertugrul.
Was it when his dad died?
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I just looked at like see him chuckling. I was like, what?
He was yawning, okay? He wasn't crying.
Huh?
He was yawning. He wasn't crying.
You already have a tear come out.
Yeah, he had something in both of his eyes.
Like, you know, watch this movie, you're gonna cry. I'm like, I will not cry, trust me. And there's never been a show or anything that I've cried. I don't know what happened there.
Do you feel sadness, or you're just
Yeah,
like?
you feel sad, but you
okay.
don't cry.
Okay.
Interesting.
I literally have a YouTube video of me fully bawling out, or bawling my eyes out.
You?
So, yeah, we had made a reaction to a movie, and I like cried halfway through it.
You watched what was it called?
Sorry.
It's called The Grave of Fireflies.
Grave of Fireflies. But you know what? You cried because you felt like you could relate to that storyline, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but like going back to like, I think there's like a perception that females are like they're comfortable to cry, but I think it's very rare for me to like cry in front of someone. Like I feel very, very, very uncomfortable.
is it because you feel exposed?
I feel very exposed, and I don't like to show that. Like even if like for example, this is kind of related, but like if I meet someone and from the get-go they're like, oh, I love you, and I'm just like, whoa, that's too far. Like emotions, like when it's too extreme for me, it's just like I don't like that. Like I think only like a handful of people in Melbourne have seen me cry. Like it was like I have tried not to let that, like I don't like to show that emotion or that side of me.
You have to be very vulnerable
Exactly.
to like, have someone see you cry, and it's like, you know, if you don't feel safe in an environment, you honestly can't cry.
But do you think? But like, even if you were to cry, like, don't you think you'd have that space would be available?
Here or in Melbourne?
Well, either or.
Of course, I feel that now. Like in like with you guys, like I wouldn't like we've cried on the phone before. Like
Oh yeah.
like I think like for me, like I've always felt comfortable because we grew up together. But there, like it was situational when I cried, and I was like, oh my god, this is so embarrassing. But the people that were around me made me feel like it's okay, you know, like it's okay, like feel what you're feeling, it's fine. And then those are the people that I felt very safe, very comfortable with. But that fear of like I hate that thought, like it's so scary to me. Show emotion.
I mean, yeah.
Well,
I'm just
You're
gonna
very popular.
I don't know if you guys, I'm just,
proposal.
now we have topics and it comes up in the background.
Do
And my background now.
you need a manager?
That's Jordan. If Jordan can cry in front of thousands of people, we can cry too, guys. But honestly, the reason that I try to stop myself from crying a lot of times is because as I grew up as a child, or I don't know when I made this connection, but I always made that connection between holding in your cry is tied to strength. So if you can hold it in, you're stronger as a person. So because of that, it's not because of fear. People, you try and relate it to fear. It's not fear that stops me from crying. It's the idea is like, if I can hold it in, then I'm strong as a person. It might not be right. We don't know what the true right answer is. You know, people try and say, you know, letting it out at all times. You know, it's just, I'm just saying, what did you link here, pin here?
I had to.
That was your first marriage proposal.
No, but I was just saying, like, yeah, a lot of us tie the ability to hold in a cry to strength, and I don't think it's related to fear a lot of the time.
I agree with that. I don't think it's fear either. I think it's just more like, you know, that as a man, like from time. I remember very clearly my dad saying, "Men don't cry. Men don't cry. You have to be strong. You have to be strong." Like, right? Like I heard that from like as far as I can remember. Right? Like, so I agree with you. Like, I don't think it's a fear thing. You know, I think it's more just, you know, that you can be strong, or if someone around you is crying, that you can be strong for them too, like type thing. You know?
MK, you got a question. Someone said, do you think that you're suppressing your emotions because you don't cry?
I don't think so, because I'm actually quite expressive. Like, I write a lot. Like, I let everything out. So like, I don't really hold anything in. Like, you know, more so I talk, and like, if I have a problem with somebody, for example, or if I have a problem in general, I know how to kind of like express it. And I think a lot of issues with a lot of men, like people that I know, anyways, is you don't really have an outlet, right? Like if you can't talk because you suppress, right? And I used to suppress a lot, right? Or you don't have like an outlet, you don't do something that kind of gets your mind off it, right? But me, as soon as I figured out I could write, because everything I think, if I'm like stressed about something or whatever, I just write it down, and like I turn it into poetry, I turn it into whatever, and it just, alhamdulillah, like it helps me a lot, like But I know people who don't have that, like so it's a struggle. So
I think it's also important to know when to cry, because at least my idea of a man is like you can cry, like it's fine to cry for certain things, but if you're crying over everything, like if you stub your toe and you end up crying, like if someone cuts you off on the road and you start crying,
flat tire.
Hold on.
Yeah, man.
What if it hurts?
nah, be strong.
Yeah.
You feel pain, you're not allowed to cry. Excuse me.
No, okay, but like stubbing your toe, like if it's for small things here and there, okay, like man up for real. But if it's for like something, like if someone passes away, you're like, okay, you can cry. But even to then, it's an extent, right? Like if you're crying from now, like for 3 months from now, you're still crying. It's like, okay, man, like
I disagree because now you're trying to put a limit on how vulnerable you.
Okay, Sarah, can I say something to you? Imagine you're married to a guy that came home from work and you said, "Hey, how was your day today?" And he's like, "It was just so tiring," and he just started crying. What would you do?
Exactly.
Every day, he was just complaining about work, crying every day.
What if he had a hard day and he's stressed?
You would think of him as less of a man.
No way.
No, I wouldn't.
If he did it every day, there's no way.
Let me tell you something.
What if you had a bad day?
Thank you.
Imagine he had a bad month and he cried every day. If Khalid came home from work every day and said, I can't do this anymore. I'm so stressed out, and then he just lets out tears through the house, tears every day. What would you do?
Look, here's the thing, right? Because coming from someone, I can openly say that I grew up as a very emotional child. Everything made me cry. But the reason why was because I didn't know how to verbalize how I was feeling. So, Sammy, I feel like I need to add you on here. Please request, because I know you have a lot to say. But to kind of get back to what you were saying, as someone who used to cry a lot, I used to cry because I didn't know how to verbalize how I was feeling. So, and if he's coming home every night saying like I had a bad day, I'd be like, let's talk about it. Like
every day?
No, but like
That's my point. But that's what I'm saying to you. That's why I agree with Amir, because like you do have to be strong as a man. You have to be able to hold some things in, right? Because why? Because if you're having a bad day and I'm having a bad day and we just come home and it's a cry fest like every single day, like who's gonna help who up?
Well,
I just think
you would try and find a solution. Like if what's causing you this much distress that you're crying.
There's a reason someone's behaving that way.
Yeah.
Like, you have to talk about it and find a solution.
Like, do we need to find you a therapist? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I don't know. I just think as a man, like, you need to be able to hold it together, like, because there's gonna be times where you're supposed to be protecting your like, your family and like, sheltering them, and like there's a lot of things, like you have
we're
to be
tasked
able
with being the protectors. We're tasked with being the providers, right? So
totally be a protector and a provider and still become.
I can't be a protector with tears in my eyes. How?
I look like love every day.
Like, I need protection.
But let me give you a scenario. Let's say this guy grew up in a similar sort of environment where his parents didn't allow him that freedom to cry as a kid, and so he grew up in his teens and early 20s and late 20s thinking like, I cannot cry because that will make me less of a man. And then when he finally gets married and his spouse now gives him, like, literally makes him feel so safe and so comfortable to allow him to cry, so he's gonna let it all out. That's years and years and years of trauma.
I don't mind, Sarah. Like, you're not understanding my point. Like, if I come home to my wife and I had like in a hypothetical world, right? Like, I come home and I just cry because I've just been going through a tough time. I just cry because I've been going through a tough time. Okay, I've done it once. But if I'm pulling up every day with tears in my eyes, right, or very regularly, like if I'm doing it like say twice a week or like once a month or something, I promise you, for any woman, it's not gonna be like a thing.
I mean, but maybe you're going through something. Like, it's a cry for help, literally. So
Yeah.
maybe you know there's something like there's a deeper rooted issue there, and
Fellas, what do you think? Khalid,
Yeah.
Amir, what do you guys think?
I agree. I feel like a girl would find it unattractive. It's like, this guy is meant to be like the rock, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I meant.
Like, who's gonna get up if you hear a noise in the backyard? Me or you? You know, like.
Yeah, like someone tried to relate it. They said the prophet used to cry to Khadija, but that's like a whole nother level.
the epitome of what is it? Epitome, sorry, of a masculine man. So
Yeah, but that was like when he's dealing with like revelation, literally.
Yeah.
Like at that point, okay, like you're dealing with a whole ummah that he has to take care of. But like when you're dealing with just your regular day job and you come home crying about that kind of stuff, like it shouldn't reach that level before you start trying to figure it out yourself as a man, being like, okay, I need to make a decision here. If you reach the level where you're crying, then like there's something underlying there, or something else going on there. And we're not saying like if it cries once, okay, that's okay. If it's once, we got to figure out what's going on there. But if it's every day and they all start complaining about different things, at that point you're like, okay, like what do you want me to do? Like if you want to figure this out, we can figure it out. But don't come crying to me every day.
And I feel like men are just like different. Like men and women are different, right? Like females will get more emotional than men do. Men are more like, what is the solution to my problem? It's not let me let out all this emotion. Like I just want to cry it out and feel better. It's like, all right, I have a problem. Let me find the solution, and that's that. You know, so it's not like we're not going to dwell on it and cry on it or whatever. If we cry, yeah, okay, it's been stress, whatever, it's been whatever it might be. It might happen once, twice, whatever. But we're not one to dwell on something and say, okay, you know what? Like, just find the solution, get rid of it, get it done, and move on. You know. So I feel like that's why we're like, you know, the rock of the relationship, the support system, whatever it might be, whatever we are in society. That is why we have that role. You know, we're not like women where we get emotional like that. And like, if you understand what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Why are the women so quiet now? Because y'all know we're right.
Your face is saying otherwise.
I'm thinking, you know, like I feel like you guys have this thought so deeply ingrained in all of you, like all three of you.
It's funny because we're like arguing the opposite, and it's like we're the one that's gonna have to deal with it. Like if it's not,
I promise you. Well, I'm so sorry to cut you off, but I promise you, I experimented this once. I tried to be like quote unquote soft, right? Like I was talking to somebody back in the day, and I just I overexpressed. When I tell you she ghosted me, like this. She ghosted me like Casper. What do you mean? She was gone.
I'm trying to think. Have I ever like
I think
did you get the ick when Khalid cries or something?
no, I'm like he's showing emotion,
and you're happy, right?
Yeah, because he probably does it so far in between. That's why.
Yeah, no, it's very, very rare.
If your mom was crying to you every single day, it's like the first day you're like comforting him, and then it's just like, you know, come on,
Like,
another day.
I feel like I'm more of like a problem solver as well. I'd be like, we need to solve this. Like, if you're crying this much, there's a problem. We need to solve the problem.
No, if you're going through something, would you like? Let's say you come home, you have a crap day every single day. Will you be inclined to cry? Do you think okay, it's fine to cry?
I think my inclination is to go to, like, no, mine would be anger. Like if I'm that upset at work every day, I'd be angry.
Quit your.
Can I ask you a question? Say Khalid moved instead of you, right? Like I'm sure when you moved, you were going through a lot and he had to support you, right? Like he had to help you out. Imagine it was the other way around and he came home every day just stressed. He hates the city, okay? And he just needed your support every day. What would you do?
I would be
honestly.
I would honestly be there for him because Khalid knows he's been there.
We love that queen. We love that.
I don't doubt it. MashaAllah, may Allah protect both of you, right? But but what I'm saying is, okay, is like if Khalid came home every day, it's like I got lost downtown today, like kids, you know, what would you do?
That's your answer.
That's what I'm saying. Do you get me?
I tell him to open Google Maps. Like I think it depends.
I really don't think that's normal. Though.
I think it depends on what the issue is. If
Tell him, Muria.
He got lost downtown and he was crying over that, then there's a problem there. But like,
yeah, but if my girl cried over being lost downtown, I'm gonna be like, oh, it's okay, like you know, don't worry, I'll come get you. Like I'm gonna take that seriously.
Yeah. No, I think it depends. Like I understand because I've moved. I know how hard it is. Like, it's a very big emotional. Like, I don't know, MK, have you not been emotional? Like, moving to Toronto?
I feel like it's
Have I? No, but you heard my episode. You heard my episode, right? Like, but I'm saying to you, but I expressed how I was feeling though. Like I let it go, right? But like, I don't feel like I had time to be emotional. I was emotional for like 3 hours, and like I was gone, like, you know, and then I was back to it, you know. Like I can't. It's not natural to me, right? Because naturally, I'm just like, I get on it, right?
You think you
Like,
started working as soon as you got here?
I had a job before I came. Like, I had a job before I came. But, like, I left that job, and then I started looking for another job. And then I moved houses, like, 3 times. And, like, I was doing the most in the first 3-4 months that I was here, you know? So, like, I was busy. I had so much that I had to, like, take care of. But when I dropped that episode,
Yeah.
and I was, like, saying, well, this is actually crazy, that's when I, like, actually settled. Like, I started working. Like, I've been living in the same place for a couple of months. Like, I actually had time to think about how I was feeling, type of thing, you get me? But naturally, and this is why a lot of guys don't actually, like, it's not even a joke, but you don't actually have the time to sit and reflect on how you're feeling, whatever the case may be, because you have so much going on in your life, like, at once, you know, that you don't have that time. You don't have the time to sit here. Like, you come home after a long day of doing whatever you're doing, and you're just stressed. You know, you just want to go to sleep, and you want to get up and do it all over again, you know? So, but and I think that's why, like, you don't really have the time.
I think it's important to make that time, though.
Say that again?
gonna say
It's important to make that time. Like, my time, I would consider, like, my walks to be that time.
Yeah, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
in a world, like, in a world where, like, our parents grew up, our fathers grew up, whatever the case may be, like, and I think I read this in a book that every generation damages the next, you know, through their traumas, because we try to overfix. Like, I'm never gonna let my kids do this. Like, I'm not gonna treat them like this, right? Like, I know the reason why my dad did the things he did with me is because of how it was done with him, right? And, like, so on forth, right? So I think it all catches up, but in our generation might be the one to maybe, like, fix things up, right? Just because we have more knowledge and more, you know, more I guess more resources to, like, do things, you know. But I can see, like, my dad had no time to cry because he had 3 kids, he had a wife, he had things to, like, you know, there was no time to, like, think about anything, you know.
But I think if you want to break that cycle for the generation to come, you kind of have to be introspective. You have to self-reflect. You have to acknowledge your feelings. You have to process them, and then also create that environment for your future kids. Otherwise, all we're going to do is just have history repeating itself, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't disagree, and I think me personally, like, I'm very aware of that now. Like, that I don't want to, like, even inshallah when I have kids, like, I'm very, like, I want to spend a lot of time with them. Like, I don't want it to be just work, provision, like, because they need me there, right? Like, they want to like, feel my presence. They want to, like, get, like, they need a father, like, to be, like, in their face, basically, right? So, like, it's things that I'm already, like, I'm, like, aware of, or, like, I'm thinking about. But I think, like I'm saying to you, the reason why we ended up like this is, and not to blame, but it's just because of certain circumstances. But now we're actually able to do this, you know. But you also don't want to ever correct, because some of the things that we were taught got us to the point that we're in now. It's like a fine balance, right? Like, of how to kind of take what's good from the way you were raised, and then, you know, raise your children in a way that's you know, it's good.
I was going to say, I think the biggest difference between our generation and our parents' generation is that, you know, a lot of our parents are immigrants, and a lot of them moved either when they were still in their teens or early 20s, and they had kids as soon as they moved, and so they didn't have time to figure out how they were feeling or to work on their mental health, because their main priority was supporting their family, you know, being that provider, if it was the man or the woman, depending on the role of your parents. I don't know, but I was going to say, you know, we have that advantage and that privilege of living in the same country that we were born in, except for you two, obviously. You know, you guys moved, but even then, it's not like, you know, you speak the language, so you're not, like, forced to learn a new language here. You still have, you know, fair opportunities to have good jobs, and not just jobs that you're working just to get by, you know what I mean? So you're still at an advantage point. And so I think because we have that privilege, all of us, we are also positioned in a way where we can be introspective. We you know, focus on our mental health. Like if you talk to our parents about mental health, they'll look at you like, I'm sane, I'm fine. And you know, you have a bad day and then you move on. Pray about it. That's what they'll tell you to do. You know what I mean? And here we are, you know, getting therapists and reflecting, whether it's journaling or confiding in our friends or going to the gym as a stress reliever, walks, whatever the case may be. Like as a generation, we're all actively working on those things. And I feel like have high hopes for the future generation. I feel like we're not going to be super toxic. And I'm hoping that the guys too, like if you have sons, don't tell them to man up when they need to cry. Let them cry. Give them that space to be expressive, but obviously, you know, within limits.
I'm just gonna sign him up for Andrew Tate's university.
Hell no. Oh.
Yeah, sorry. Don't matter with my kids, okay? No, but you know what I'm saying? I agree with you, but I also, I don't know, like this is just a controversial opinion, but don't you think that mental health and like everything is being forced down our throat these days? Like, you know, everyone, that's how I feel, right? Because like, I don't know, like I feel like a lot of times is now like I'm the whole day. I see one video and all of a sudden I think I'm like anxious. I feel like I'm something, you know?
You know it is though. I did notice that, and I think the rise in like the mental health craze really came about like during COVID because everybody was stuck at home, and you know when you're stuck at home, either jobless or you're working from home, and you're kind of just left alone with your thoughts. A lot of people were in isolation. That triggers mental health issues without you even realizing. And so people were now feeling more comfortable because for some reason there was this thing where everyone felt comfortable sharing online. And so like 10 years ago, I feel like speaking on depression, anxiety, whatever the case may be, wasn't as common as it is now. Like now we talk about it like it's nothing, you know what I mean? So I'm not saying force it down your kid's throat, but as long as we're all cognizant of it, you know, we can navigate through our lives as parents eventually.
We have I think we all grew up in a generation where like everyone born in the 90s, you know, or like early 90s to mid 90s, we got to see life before the internet took over, like if that kind of makes sense, right? Like I was actually reading the study about how like people born post 2000 like don't know life without like internet and phones and all of these things, right? And like there's a higher rate of mental health issues, depression, suicide, or what have you, all because of what they've been fed like online, right? Because we all can relate to growing up being like 5 or 6 or whatever and just spending your whole day at the park, like outside playing, right? Like you came home, you showered, whatever, you went to sleep, and like your life, you actually had like memories that didn't involve you holding a screen, right? But like I have like a younger sister, for example, and like her phone is like her life. Like, you get me? Like one time she told me she didn't know how to ride a bike, and that made me so sad because I'm just like, you know,
Yeah,
so there's like these things that even though the future generation is gonna have all these advantages, but I feel like there's a lot of disadvantages that affect your mental health because just being outside and playing, like does a lot for you as a child, right? Like just being in the park, getting dirty, whatever the case may be, like it does a lot for you as a child, or interacting with people, like no social like anxiety or social like, you know, because from young you were interacting with little kids and playing with them and whatnot, so you naturally grow and do that. But now it's like most kids have more friends in different countries than they have in their own city, just because they're online, you know. So
I'll cut you off. Yes, the live is going to be posted to our channel. Someone just responded to you, MK, and said it's not what we're being fed, it's also our lifestyles in general, lack of physical activity, comparing ourselves to others.
Yeah, there was. Oh, sorry, I cut it off there a bit. But I was just saying, there was like a TikTok I saw recently where there was a therapist talking to like a guy, and he was saying like, "Oh, I'm like depressed. Like I left my house and blah blah blah. I can think I have the only friends I have are online." And then he asked him, he's like, "So have you ever like, when was the last time you met these people in person, right?" And he's like, "It's been a few months or whatever." And he's like, "Why don't you just go out there and meet them in person? Like just for 1 week, just go and meet a friend in person and see how you feel at our next session." And by the next session, he's like, "Hey, like, so how are you feeling now after meeting with a friend at least once a week?" And he's like, "I feel a lot better now." So when he realized that he just needed that interaction. So I think it's just important to remember that like all this online stuff is still online, is almost fake in a way. you still need to meet people in person and kind of interact with people and regular people, so you don't kind of like fall into these what do you call it, these depressive states and start prescribing these different mental issues with yourself, and you realize you should have just went outside.
There's also like a video I watched recently as well, where there's a craze where everyone's like adopting dumb phones now, where where people are like trading their smartphones and going back to like Nokia or whatever that we back in the day. Yeah, because people are like, I'm just being consumed with this smartphone and taking over my life, and they switch over to the Nokia, and they're like, I feel liberated. Yeah, so I feel like this is a big conversation itself, but
it is. I think that topic of getting time outside as a kid versus being, you know, on your phone all the time.
I think even something as simple as like going outside, like you might be in your house and you're just watching shows like back to back and you just feel like crap, right? But the second you just kind of go outside and get some fresh air, you feel so much better. I think that's something that the younger generation might not experience as much as we did. We used to just spend time, kind of what MK was saying, like we were on our bikes, we were outside with the neighbors playing outside, and then kids nowadays don't even, they just would rather be on their phones. It's so...
Yeah, because we're part of that generation where we had, like half of our life we spent not really with like an internet all the time, right? So we were able to kind of develop as people before we were introduced to the internet in the way that we interact with it today. So, you know, we were able to build like friendships in person, and like we learned how to interact with other people and make new friends and all those things in person before we moved over to social media and all those things. So we kind of had that advantage versus the kids who were born in the 2000s, who from like the time that they were cognizant of what was going on, they had a phone in their hand and were on social media. Like before they even turned 13, they had social media because they lied about their age or whatever, right?
True. That's very, and I think that like if it kind of continues this way, then every generation afterwards, like there'll be newborns and they'll be distracted because they're like Coco. You remember when everyone was like going against Coco because they were saying puts these kids in like a trance?
See, yeah, exactly. Oh, we got Stabby in here, by the way.
Can y'all?
You're sideways though.
Frozen for me. I don't see him.
No, he's on for me.
Really?
Oh, now he's frozen.
Oh wait, it's
no, there he is. He's good. He's good.
Am I 100%? Am I good? Live?
Yeah.
It's frozen on my. As long as everybody else can see you, I can hear you, but I just can't see you.
How about you, Amir?
Okay, now I can see everyone. Your internet just sucks, Sarah.
I'm literally using my data. It's Rogers. We're blaming Rogers.
You're using data for this?
Yeah, that's how dedicated I am.
Hey, stop playing. I'm using data too. Freedom Mobile sucks.
Freedom Mobile. I'm on Freedom. Well, I'm using my Wi-Fi now, but I'm Freedom Mobile. Okay, I get around with it. Okay, it's pretty good.
That's why I was apparently frozen, or at least I'm gonna blame it on.
No. We were good on that day when Rogers went down, except for all the other people. Okay, so
not at home. I had to suffer through the data.
But you're okay. I don't know, wherever you live like in like the middle of nowhere, Brampton. So like, man, you basically like live in a third world country.
So, how's everybody?
How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad you guys talking about what you guys are talking about. Just to jump on backwards real quick. No man is crying in front of y'all females, bro. None.
Preach.
Not one. Let's just go ahead and get it out the way. It's not toxic. Well, it might be a little bit, but it's not bad, bro. No girl is going to accept a man crying to every day. Twice a week, 3 times a month. Y'all going to look at him and say, what is wrong with you? Your day can't be bad all the time.
Yeah. And
you
know
what
what?
said was true. Sorry, Amir, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
it was true. Stubbing your toe is not a reason to cry either. Sorry.
Exactly.
Sorry. It's not a reason to cry.
Yeah. You know what it is? It's because like, okay, so if a man cried like multiple times a week, like you won't really gauge like how serious the situation is. Because like if let's say I chose I'm like a person who doesn't cry in front of their wife, but one day I just couldn't hold it in, and you actually ended up crying in front of your wife, you know that must have been something super serious.
Yeah, absolutely.
And at that point, okay, you can respect that. But if he's doing it a few times a week, then you're like, okay, like, are you crying wolf again?
No, but like, I'm just saying, if a guy's crying multiple times in a week, you probably just need help. It's a cry for help.
Therapy. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're crying because you stubbed your toe, then like, I don't know what to tell you.
Man up. That's what you tell them.
That's what I'm saying,
Man
though.
up.
Like, it
You gotta
depends
say
on the
man up.
reason. But I was saying, like, even emotionally, like, if you need that support, you can complain or, like, you can ask your wife for support or your partner for support, whatever the case may be. But you don't have to let the tears out. Like, you know, you can just be like, yo, I'm just going through it right now. Can you be here for me? You know, type of thing. But if I was crying, like, imagine my wife's going out and I start crying, you know, she tells her friend, no, I can't go out, he's crying again, you know? Like, can you imagine that conversation, you know?
Yo, Samia's gonna throw something at me, man. My wife is. I don't know. What?
Like, you guys may you might say that you were not going to think of us differently, but subconsciously there is something in there that changes.
All I'm saying is you shouldn't feel like you can't cry because you have to be strong. Like, you can still allow, like, it's okay to cry is all I'm saying, but don't cry for everything.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So we're all on the same page.
We're all on the same page.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Communicate.
By the way, what do you guys think? What do you guys think of Andrew Tate being canceled on all of his social media pages?
Unfair. Very
Unfair.
It's unfair.
Honestly, I agree. I feel like he shouldn't have been cut off. Because, okay, just to give you a point, so there's someone who posted something. His name's like CoffeeZilla. He's like taking these guys off these social platforms will only teach the next generation that if you don't agree with someone, then you can just cut them off of social media.
No.
Instead of having open dialogue with them and showing and exposing them for what they're might be right or wrong about.
But I feel like he was doing more harm than good, and so that's why he was banned. Like, he wasn't just, it's not like I feel like I don't want to equate him to like Trump, because Trump had a huge sway, but he was kind of getting to that level where people were like loyal to him and they were actually believing what he was saying.
Well, okay, wait. Let me ask real quick.
Mm-hmm.
What did you find wrong in particular? Like, is there one thing you found wrong? A couple of things?
I like the way Sammy asks questions.
Huh?
I like the way he asks questions.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Hold on. Are you a supporter?
For me?
Who?
All of you.
You know what? I'll say what I say, right? Like, I think it was unfair for one reason, right? That everyone was only seeing the clips that were posted, the 15-second clip, the 30-second clip, the 1-minute clip. That was something that was super controversial, but not taking out the whole thing, like not watching the whole content, the whole podcast, the whole episode, because I think he said a lot of good things, so a lot of things that guys needed to hear, to be honest. Like, I don't think it was fair that he got taken off.
I agree with you. Like, I think a lot of his popular clips were like the shorter ones where he's saying things for shock value. But I did watch, I can't remember whose podcast it was, but I watched when he went on a podcast, and I watched for a long period of time just to kind of like see what he was all about. And I agree with you. I did agree with some of the points that he made. Like, I totally agree. But I just think that his approach in general, like, he still preached like toxic masculinity.
It's a delivery of the way he said things. Like, that's what made people like feel the way
You guys
they
are
feel.
mad about the way he says it.
He said it. And what I don't
What
like,
he said.
what I don't like about today's society is, like, you don't have to listen to what somebody says. Like, you can get the information and formulate your own opinion. Like, so
I don't even know what he said. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't seen his clips because I don't think I'm on social media enough to see what he was saying. Like, I wasn't really actively looking to what he was saying. But one thing I noticed is people will say controversial things to get more attention, and then people are just like, "Oh my God, he said this. Oh my God, he said that." It gives them more attention. So I don't know. I just feel like kind of what MK said. Like, you choose who you want to listen to. So you don't have to. You don't like what he says, don't listen to him. That's just how I feel about it too.
Yeah. I agree, but I think when someone is that big and someone's that popular, where everyone is like, that's just how things, you know, become popular on social media, is that everyone's talking about it, so you're like, oh, let me check it out too, and then you watch it and you're like, what is this? Like, who is this guy?
If you're looking at it from the social responsibility, like I see what you're saying, right? Because like there could be like a 13-year-old who his mind's very tender and doesn't understand like things, whatever the case may be, right? Like, and he could be swayed, you know, to whatever he's saying, right? Like, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I feel like opinions are opinions at the end of the day, like for anybody, right? Like you can say whatever. I can say anything I want to say. Like you don't have to listen to me. You know, you don't have to follow me. You don't have to believe me. You know, but I think he said a lot of things that a lot of guys want to say. To be honest, that's what I think.
Is that how you guys feel, Sammy, MK? Because I know how Amir feels, but you two, Khalid.
I agree.
I have no idea what he's saying.
Yeah, see, I feel like we were in the same boat. Like we have no idea what he was saying.
Yeah.
You agree with what was the statement again?
He said, MK said he feels like Andrew Tate says a lot of things that many guys also wish that they could say out loud without being like judged, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So do you guys agree with that statement?
Yeah.
Like his followers, yeah, I feel like a lot of his followers were like, the reason he grew so fast is because people were like, yeah, this is what I've been thinking the whole time. This guy's just saying it out loud. I'm gonna follow him, right? Like, it's not that I'm not saying that everything he said was right. I'm very similar to you, Sada. I'm saying like you agree with some of what he says, and some of what he doesn't say. And don't agree with some of what he says as well, right? Mm-hmm. But I feel like, okay, the issue with canceling or taking someone offline or take them off of social media totally, and it creates a vacuum because now they know the next person, there's going to be another person who comes up that's similar to Andrew Tate, but now they know how to kind of game the system to not be canceled like he is. So they're going to be more subtle with how they approach this topic and how they sell this idea to other people, right? It's very similar to how racism is kind of preached today, but it's more subtle, so they can't really call it out. Like before, it was very in your face. You know, when people just say the N-word, they would like say straight up in your face, and you could call it out because it would be so apparent. But now, because there's a fear of being canceled, or they know they're going to take off social media, they still preach these very similar ideas and say these things, but they say it in a very sly and very like I don't know, what do you call when you cloak something? Like in a very shady way, exactly. And because they're not saying it explicitly, they can get away with it more. It's harder to call out. And the more you cancel these people and take them offline, the more that they know how to kind of like game the system, if that makes sense.
You guys saw you know Kevin Samuels, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I see how Kevin Samuels was doing very similar things to what Andrew Tate was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you actually, you know, and it was actually worse in one way because he would bring people on and literally put them down, right? So it's just like you said, like the next person is gonna come out and is gonna know exactly what the formula is, and they're gonna do it, and it's gonna continue. It's gonna keep going. But at the end of the day, it's like you're not gonna be able to cancel because now, even though they canceled him, there's gonna be at least tens, if not hundreds, of people who are gonna make channels and start doing the same things you were doing, like you know, on a smaller degree.
He already has a bunch of kids online. Like when I say kids, I mean people who take his ideology and are now spreading it on their own channels. Like you have people like Sneeko online, you have people like Fresh and Fit and all these other guys who promoted him at first, but they're a little bit more tame than he was. They're getting away with it more.
Sorry, Amir, to cut you off, but it kind of also, like that, I think you guys talked about this in your podcast before, but it kind of brings up the whole topic of like who controls what's considered like acceptable and not acceptable, right? Because there might be, like we say, that someone might think it's not acceptable and they can just block us off social media as well, right? So you kind of open that door. Like the more you kind of cancel people out on social media, you kind of open that door. You're like, well, this is not accepted by society. We're just going to cancel that too, right? So like I said before, like everyone has whoever they want to listen to. Like if they want to listen to him, that's their business. Like it doesn't affect you if you don't listen to it.
Yeah, like we know who holds the keys now, it's like super left liberal people, but then we don't know who's gonna hold the keys 100 years from now.
But there's like certain liberal views that might not, like they might, like we might be considered conservative.
Yeah, like how about if there was like a French liberal who had the keys?
Exactly.
All the hijabis would be offline. So what do you think, Sam?
Yeah, I'm really keen to hear what Sammy has to say because he's been relatively quiet.
I honestly, well, I just enjoy listening to what you guys have to say, to be honest with you. Now, what in particular do you guys want my opinion on? Because there was a lot.
So Andrew Tate specifically.
Yeah.
First off, like, would you call yourself a supporter of him? And then second off, like, what do you think will be the repercussions of him being cut off?
All right. To first answer the question, do I find myself to be a supporter? No. I can't say I'm a supporter, but do I disagree with what the man says? No. I can't say I honestly disagree with a lot of the stuff. I haven't heard too much garbage, to be honest with you. Sure, I'm not listening. I don't follow the man, but the clips I've seen have not been like crazy, out of the norm clips. I've seen crazier clips, I'm pretty much saying. And those people that I've seen are still online. Those people are still, those pages and whatnot and outlets are still being pushed. And to me, there's a lot more crazier things out there to worry about than in Andrew Tate.
Yeah,
I feel like we gave, or society, I guess, gave that man too much power.
Yeah.
The man came out of nowhere. All of a sudden, he's boom, he's the man. I never knew him a year ago. Personally, I never knew him a year ago. Does he say stuff that other men say? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would think a lot of females sometimes agree with the guy too. Just like Sarah, there's moments where you guys actually agree with the guy.
Yeah.
So he's not saying crazy things, but we as a society, I guess, gave that man too much power, too many like buttons. And somebody out there, or somebody's, did not like it and wiped them off, man. And that's what happens. They did the same with Louis Farrakhan. They did it with plenty of other people, you guys. Come on, like, if they don't like what the person says, cancel nation comes to, out of nowhere and gets them.
Yeah, we should be more concerned about that. The fact that they have the ability to just take anyone off of all social media. Because, like, if it was one, you know that they're all talking to each other. Because if it was just one page, like, let's say it was just TikTok that cut him off or whatever, or canceled him, then it'll be okay. Like, it's just one page. But then when it was TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, like, all these pictures did it all around the same time, you're like, okay, so there's like some group here, group chat, these all places together. But like, no, you gotta do something.
If inshallah, I'm sure this is gonna happen. When you guys blow up and become huge, right?
Inshallah.
What if somebody doesn't like what y'all say in the future?
Exactly.
And all of a sudden, because it's got disconnected.
Exactly.
Out of nowhere, out of all platforms, just because somebody didn't like what you guys said. It's unfair. That point to me is unfair. And that I think that's the part I like to push. Like, I'm a firm believer of freedom of speech. Yes, some feelings might get hurt. My feelings might get hurt. But I to go with pitchforks and torches, them days are long behind us.
I mean, to be fair, I did see a comment previously where someone said, what was the reason that he was taken off from social media? Because they said that he had like sexual assault allegations, and maybe that's what it was. But I feel like a lot of people have those types of allegations against them, and they've never been taken off social media. So why was?
Well, there's a video of him like, it was him literally like beating a woman.
Oh God!
But like, but it was like some like BDSM like super. It was pretty much like a fetish type video kind of thing. And like the girl came out later saying like, "Hey, I was in on it. Like, this is just a thing he was into or whatever." It was a very creepy video. Like, I didn't watch it, but I saw a TikTok where someone was watching. You could hear the sound in the background. And like, if you didn't have any context, then it would look really, really bad. And people can say, oh, like, she was paid off to make that video. Like, you know, he's really just threatening her or whatever. But I'm going to give them the benefit of that because I don't know, right? Like, she said that he was, they're both in on it. They're both consenting to it. So I'm like, okay, they're both consenting to it. There was no charges laid for it. So, yeah, that's like that. I'm not really going to use that as a fact against him. And also, there was another case where his house was raided, and they attributed that to him like running some type of like pimping ring for his cam shows or whatever. But he later came out saying like, no, I was swatted. Swatted is essentially when someone calls and says that like there's a bomb or there's some type of threat going down in your building, and then the SWAT team comes to your place, but really there's nothing going on there. They're just doing that to kind of troll the person. So that was the second thing that was used against him. And he said, yeah, I wasn't charged or anything. Like, it turned out to be someone just swatted me. And I'm more of the person who gives someone the benefit of the doubt. But the internet will never give the benefit of the doubt. That's why he was kind of taken off of social media and all these things, because you will never get the benefit of the doubt from the internet, no matter what. If they already have an opinion on you and then something else comes out that might make you look bad, you will not get, even if the facts turn out to be completely in your favor, they will still say, oh, okay, you could have paid off, blah, blah, that kind of thing, right? So, but yeah, those were the things that a lot of people kind of used against him, and ultimately, I believe, got him taken off of him.
I think a lot of it had to do with the comments he made about women, because what I read was because a lot of the clips that were surfacing were him saying, you know, women are this, women are that, whatever, boom, boom, boom. Like, you're saying a lot of things that was basically like harassment, right?
Yeah.
Like, or like, you know, and that was violating all the community guidelines of every platform, you know. So like, that's why they were, you know, they had to remove him, because he was basically, you know, he was promoting abuse essentially in some of the things that he was saying. So I think that's what the reason was, because all of those other things, like Instagram can't really do, or Facebook can't do anything for you, because nothing happened on their platform, right? Like, if something that happens in the real world in your personal life, it's got nothing to do with what you're posting online, you know, because you could be a serial killer and your account will still be up, like, they won't take it down, you know. So
That's true.
yeah,
I think that, like, you know, if he was taken off because he violated community guidelines with said, then going back to Sammy's point, like, you don't really have freedom of speech on social media. That means you have to censor everything you do talk about, otherwise you will get canceled. You will be removed off the platforms. And then, you know, then that kind of poses the question of like, should social media platforms allow you to say whatever you want, or should it be censored? Like, there's such a fine line between allowing people to say whatever, because imagine if you have a social media platform and you tell people you can talk about whatever you want and you won't get in trouble. Like, that's so dangerous. So it's like, you know, which side are we supposed to, like, are we supposed to be for allowing freedom of speech, or are we supposed to be for that censorship?
Well,
What? Wait,
you have to. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Let me ask you this, Sarda. What do you say to those who, for those individuals, this might go dark a little bit, sorry. For those individuals who write in their diary, for instance, probably like self-inflicting pain topics on themselves, you know, life might be going hard. And instead of writing in their diary, they're writing it on social media. Is that wrong on both sides in that sense? Is it better to write it to yourself? Or is it, can you go ahead, or it could be hate speech or whatever it is, whatever the topic could be. Is it better to write it to yourself, or like put it out there on a platform that allows you to write things but everybody can see?
That's the thing. Like, the way that I feel about social media is like, your account is your account, right? So like, if you feel like you want to express how you're feeling about yourself and it's not the most positive thing, it's self-loathing, it's, you know, borderline, maybe suicidal, I don't know, but like, you know, it's just something extreme where maybe other people might feel uncomfortable. At the end of the day, that's your account. I think if you're posting it for other people to see and it warrants a reaction, like, don't be surprised, because, you know, sometimes you'll post something, others react, and you're like, oh, hop off my, you know, like, why is everybody watching me? Like, you posted it. You're gonna get a reaction. That's just how I see it. But, you know, to kind of cut my own self off, someone wrote, freedom of speech does not have to be absolute or without limits. For example, it doesn't need to allow cyberbullying. Yeah, I think cyberbullying is a whole other topic too, though. Like, this is just a matter of, are we agreeing with allowing people to talk about whatever? Like, what if, you know, people from KKK are now able to speak freely on whatever it is they speak about on Instagram?
Look, is this easy? Where's my phone? Okay, I need a button. Unfollow. Boom.
Exactly.
Bang, bada boom.
I
I
agree.
ain't gotta see you.
I totally agree. I think, but my thing is like, sometimes people generate an audience, right? And they have a platform. When you have a platform, you now have a social responsibility to, and I know you might not agree, right? Because we can say, me and Amir can sit here and say, oh, we don't have that responsibility to be role models. We can say that, but unfortunately, we might actually just be that to some people. Like, they might look up to us. So we have this responsibility now to kind of not necessarily censor ourselves because we're pretending to be something that we're not, but we're not going to say things that are super out of line either, you know?
But those people feel like they have a social responsibility for that side of people too.
Also,
it's like you feel me? Like they just like you guys have to uphold a certain standard. They feel, even though I agree with you, it's crazy, but they feel like that's their standard. The KKK got their standard. You understand? Even if we don't agree with what they say, they got a following, no matter if we like it or not, at the end of the day. And these people will always have followers, in a sense. As much as we can hate it, you're going to find people who agree with people. And you might agree with it, you might disagree with it.
So
that's the part I'm saying. Freedom of speech.
Yeah.
I feel like the days of us having freedom of speech is being tested, and that's the scary part.
Yeah. Well, like, we have to keep in mind that there's never going to be freedom of speech online, because at the end of the day, all of these companies have a duty to the advertisers, the people who are paying them. Because these people aren't making money from us. We're not paying into these services. The ad companies are, right?
Yeah.
And that's the reason a lot of these people, I feel like maybe Andrew Tate might be getting deleted as well, is because like advertisers call and be like, yo, we're going to pull our ads if you guys keep these people online here. So at the end, it might not even be because of the people's outrage. Like, they could have kept them on there the whole time, but then once the advertisers start calling up, they're like, okay, we got to do something now. It's very similar situation. I don't know if you guys heard about the YouTube adpocalypse. So essentially, there was around like 2000, I don't know, like 2012, something like that, or 2015. I can't remember the year exactly, but the biggest YouTuber was PewDiePie at the time. And he came out, there was a video of him like saying the N-word or something like that. And then everybody was trying to cancel him. And because he was the biggest YouTuber and his videos had ads on them, right? A lot of these ad companies started getting mad at YouTube and be like, why are you putting our ads on his videos? And then other people started pointing out, hey, there's also ads on all these ISIS videos on YouTube. There's ads on all of these like weird child endangerment videos online. And it just got exposed, more got exposed, to the point that Walmart, which was paying for 50% of YouTube's advertising budget, or advertising, whatever they're making in advertising, they pulled out. So YouTube literally lost 50% of their revenue from ads because of the adpocalypse that happened. And because of that, YouTube and all these other social media sites became a lot more strict on exactly what they allow on their platform, which is why you start seeing more people getting pulled off and deleted. So I know we're going back and forth on like the outrage of the people, but I feel like at the end of the day, it comes down to the advertisers and what they, at the end of the day, allow to be online. It's up to them what they allow to be online.
Comes down to basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just money.
Sorry?
I said it comes down to money, like.
Yeah, exactly. Money talks, man. If Andrew Tate had this opinion on a platform that was paid for by the users only, then I feel like he would have never lost it, or like he would still be on there, right? But because there's advertisers on these platforms, they're trying to like stay away from anything that might be controversial in any way. That's why if you put up a YouTube, someone mentioned there, if you put up a YouTube video on any type of controversial topic like Palestine, you'll immediately get either demonetized or even suppressed or blacklisted or shadow banned on whatever platform you post it on. So unfortunately, that's just the reality of the situation. Like, companies just don't want you talking about controversial issues. And the funny thing is that YouTube actually, they were really supportive of like the Black Lives Matter movement at one point. And at the same time, they were suppressing videos and taking ads off of videos that were talking about the Black Lives Matter movement. So it's also hypocritical in that way. I could go on about this for hours, but I just want to put that out there for y'all.
Is it freedom of expression that's really being tested then? Because we can talk about whatever, but it's us typing and posting that's being tested. You understand? Is that the case? I mean,
I think so. I think, you know, you're free to say whatever you want, but the minute you try and post something, it's always going to be censored, unfortunately. Like, it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. I think it has its pros and its cons. Censorship, that is, but do I necessarily agree with it?
No, it's okay.
I don't agree. Like, I don't think we should all be censored. But, you know, I saw a comment earlier that said, you know, does that, like, guidelines are important, and does that mean that it's fair game for anything to be posted? Like, for example, the I don't know if you guys remember, but the shooting or the massacre in Christchurch, I think, was live streamed when it was happening. Like, something like that, you know, like that. Obviously,
that's sick. Yeah,
like, we don't agree with that type of thing, but we're talking about just, like, everyone is entitled to their own opinion, right? Like, everyone's gonna think whatever they want to think, and if they want to express that online, there should be a platform that allows them to. That doesn't mean that we have to listen and agree. Like, not every.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's freedom of speech, but not freedom of consequences.
I was gonna say the same thing. I was literally gonna say the same thing.
Yeah.
You can say whatever you want, but you just get ready for the repercussions. And you might not think that the repercussions are fair, but if that's what society currently believes is the reaction that's appropriate to it, it's like you got to kind of accept that and realize it's about to come.
Yeah. That's true. But that was a good segue. Thanks for bringing up Andrew Tate. Didn't want to talk about him, but
Dang.
yeah, we really did talk about everything. I'm trying to see.
We've gone in here for almost 2 hours, man.
I know.
I think.
Okay, I have one question for you guys. This is one that we.
Okay.
So this person said, "How would you end a friendship if you have to? How would you know that it was time to end a friendship, or how do you revive a friendship with someone that you've drifted apart from?"
Whoa! Which question?
That's super loaded.
I know it's super loaded. Okay, how about let's do it one at a time. So, how would you end a friendship if you had to end it? Like, for whatever reason, you know, if it's a toxic friendship and you're finally at a point in your life now where you're like, you know what, this friendship is no longer serving me and I need to end it. Like, are you the type to ghost the friend? Are you just going to be like, oh, I'm busy 24/7, I can never hang out with you? Or do you just have that honest, like, a friendship breakup? Like, do you just tell them, like, sorry, we can't be friends?
Sorry, we can't be friends. No, I've honestly said personally, I need time away to friends before. Yeah, I need time to myself. Yeah, I've said that before. Yeah,
I respect that.
Yeah, I was like, I've said I need time to myself. I think ghosting is, if you ghost, that wasn't your friend. If you ghost, that wasn't your friend to begin with. And I don't know anybody that's ever said I can't be your friend no more, so I can't go off of that example.
I mean, if I'm looking at my own experience, if I felt like I needed time away from a friend, first I would try and communicate what I needed from them to see if maybe that can invoke sort of change, right? Like, if I felt like they were doing something that made me not want to be around them, I would try and have that conversation. And if I felt like there was no accommodation for me and my needs, then I would kind of just, like, I hate to say it, but I would, like, slowly phase them out, you know? Like, if they're calling me, or, like, if it's a long distance friendship, I think it's easier to break.
Out of sight, out of mind.
But if it's someone that's, like, in the same city as you, I think it's matter. Like, sorry, and then eventually they kind of get the message and they stop hitting you up.
So like avoid the whole situation.
Yeah, low key. No, but I do try to have the conversation. Yeah. And if they don't get it, then they don't get it. So, what about you, MK? Because Amir's gone for now.
I mean, to be honest, I naturally kind of tend to just distance myself a little bit, you know. That's kind of like what I do initially, just to kind of see if it's just me that's kind of overreacting to the situation, or is it actually them, right? And if things get really like, if they kind of persist, whatever, then I just have a conversation. I've done it a couple of times before. It was very tough, just to like I just don't think we're good in each other's lives, basically, you know. And like we can be cool, we can be cordial, whatever, or we just can't have this, you know, whatever it is. So I've had to cut it off like that. You know?
Yeah, like I think friendship breakups are actually like really difficult, and people don't talk on it as much as they do like romantic breakups, you know, like if you're in a relationship. But when you have to break up with a friend, especially if it was someone that was close to you, like that's still a loss that you have to, you know, grieve, deal with. And it's not an easy decision either. Like for me anyway, like if I have to actively end a friendship, like it's not something that it's not a decision that I come to lightly. Like it takes a lot of thought and effort to try and revive it, which is part of the second question, is like, you know, how do you revive a friendship? Like when do you know when to give up? Like I don't know if it's the same for female friendships as it is for guys, or if it's as complex as it is for us as it is for you guys. Like, do you feel like when you're just done, you're done, and you're like, whatever, man, like see you when I see you, and we're not going to be homeboys anymore? Like how does that work for you guys?
I think guys don't overthink it, to be honest. I don't know, me personally, it's just kind of like, it's whatever. Like you don't really have many guys who care too much. Like they hit you up a few times, you don't answer this, like whatever. Like they kind of just move on. You know, like you don't really get, me personally, you know, I've never really been pulled up on it. You know, guys just get it and they just move on. So
Sammy?
I mean, I agree with what you said. If I was to personally distance myself from you, yes, I have to be away. But like I'm like as a guy, if me and Amir distance ourselves and Amir's having an issue outside, I'm still gonna help him out. You understand? So I was like, I'm not gonna leave you high and dry, but for my personal sake, my sanity, me and you might have to be like this.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's how I would look at it. I'm not gonna leave you high and dry, but if I have to go, I have to go. If you're getting jumped, I'll help you. If you're getting ganged up on any situation, I will help you. But as a man, I'm gonna just step my peace away. You understand? I think that's how I go with it. I don't like confrontation, but I don't like bullying at the same time. So I will be there for you in that sense. But other than that, I'm gonna be away.
I feel like with girls, I feel like once you kind of make that decision, like are cutting off a friend or you're done, like you're done, like you're just not going to speak to that person. I mean, obviously it depends on the circumstance and it depends on like what happened to get you to that point. But there's like, and I guess it also depends on the friend where like, you know, you might not be close anymore, but it's like what you said, Sam. If they call and they're like, hey, like I really need you, XYZ happened.
Yeah.
Personally, I would still show up for that person. You know, like if we had that type of time and we no longer can be that type of friends anymore, like I would still, if you needed me, I'd be there for you. And I feel like anytime I have ended friendships, in my heart, I always felt that. So I knew like, okay, if this person calls me and they say that they need me, I'm going to be there, even if we're not communicating anymore, you know?
100%. 100%.
Have you had to like revive a friendship? Like if you felt like, you know, you really want to be friends with someone and they were distancing themselves or just life got in the way and so now you've drifted apart from your best friend, like how do you revive that? Like what do you do? Because you know how sometimes it can be awkward, right? Especially if so much time has gone by and maybe you're in a different phase in your life now. Like for those of you that are in relationships or married, like, you know, if you had a friend that you and this person would always hang out when you were both single and now your time is, you know, spent with your partner, do you feel like maybe, you know, that person might low-key resent you because you're no longer free, like, and now you have to revive it because you still want to be friends with them? Like, how have you guys done that?
I haven't had the time to even do anything like that, so I can't
I
say.
was about to say, I don't even know what that is like, bro.
Nice. It must be nice.
It's just like if I'm with you, I'm with you all the way, and if I'm not, I'm just not, like, type of thing. Like, I don't really have it in between. Like, I can't really fake the funk, you know. So it's,
rekindle.
yeah, I don't know, bro. Like,
Like unless like you guys just happen to end up being in the same area. Like let's say you moved away for a few years, and then you just came back in your same place, and you're like, at that point, honestly, guys can like not see each other for a few years, and then see each other and be like, it's like nothing's
It was
changed.
just like yesterday, yeah.
Exactly.
if it's not beef, then you're good. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I, for example, I haven't spoken to Amir in 4 years. So with twice in like 4 years. Back and we just
Exactly.
How about you?
I think I'm at a point where like I'm okay to feel uncomfortable. Like I feel like moving to a whole new city, you're gonna be in a lot of uncomfortable situations where you have nothing to talk about. Like I've talked about the weather a lot more than I'd like to. But I feel like so now like if I have a friendship with someone, like if it's a friendship that meant something to me, like let's say we're back now and it was like I'm seeing the person for the first time, it's awkward, like I'm like it's okay, like it's awkward today. Maybe like after we spend more time together it'll be better. If not, I'm only here for 3 months, I'll see them. It is what it is, you know? Like
Okay.
I think I'm more comfortable just with being uncomfortable now. So I have people that I confide in, I have people that I'm close to. And that's who I kind of talk to the most. And then everyone else is like, I'm cool with them. Like, it doesn't bother me.
Amen. What was the question?
By the way, shout out to Aisha. She just joined. I'm wearing your gear right now. Go to AishaHaroon.com to get her merch. I'm just saying right here. Happy looks good on you.
Okay, this is the last question. Red flags in friendships are like, I don't know.
There's
Give
a
me
lot.
red flags. I know there's a lot, but
I feel like it happens to me.
Yeah, okay. So a red flag in a friendship, I would say, if you're putting in effort for somebody and it's not reciprocated, like if, you know, they always are relying on you, and then when you have that moment where you need them and they're nowhere to be found, like that is a huge red flag for me. Because like, again, like what I spoke on, like loyalty is like everything to me. And if you can't do that, like what's the point of even having the friendship, right? Like obviously you have to be mindful of their situation. Sometimes, you know, people are in bad situations and they can't help you out the way you need in that time. But, you know, if they're all good and they can't help you, then that's a huge red flag for me, for sure.
I think like, let's say like you meet someone and the first thing they do is talk about their own friends, like that's like a huge red flag for me.
like gossiping about their friends.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
if you're talking about your own friends, I'm like, whoa, like what are you gonna say about me? You know?
If someone talks bad about their best friend to you, just know they're probably gonna talk about you too. That's all.
That's what I was gonna say. I'm like, if I meet you and the first thing you start talking is other people, then that's the last meeting we're having.
Yeah, I've had to tell people like, why are you talking about other people? Like, I don't want to hear about that kind of stuff. Like, this is the worst feeling.
Sammy, do you have any red flags?
Do I have any red flags? Boy, let me tell you. No. Honestly, I for the ones that just call you when misery needs company. Those type of folks are instant red flags for me, you know. Or the ones that rather, okay, in friendship, I think it's healthy sometimes to compete. But if you compete out of envy and jealousy, then that would be a big red flag for me. So you kind of like hating on the low, but you want to, you know. I think that's a huge red flag.
You know what we call those? They're called frenemies.
A word? I'm not using that word ever.
Is that what the young kids say these days?
That's my frenemy.
Exactly.
But yeah, frenemies, like friends that, you know, you'll notice though in their attitude when you're low, you can kind of see like they're kind of happy that you're low. But when you're high, they're like, oh,
how the hell did that happen?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Preach.
Okay, those are good points. We got a really funny question. I'm gonna just end it off with this because my phone's about to die. But this one just made me laugh, so I don't know if it's gonna pop up on your screen.
I kind of appreciate whoever this person is. That's what the question.
What?
Oh my god, this is like a really tough moral question, bro.
I do not know how to answer this whatsoever.
I can't see it.
It says, okay, the person said, if a hijabi girl wants to make an OnlyFans for only feet, they can show their feet and hands.
That was Dina.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to answer that, but
That's all you.
Someone said they heard a sheikh answer it and they said it's haram.
Kind of like, are you selling your body in a sense?
I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
I think it's more like what the motive that someone's buying it. That's what it is, you know?
And I now learned through Amir that like people have a fetish for feet, like it's actually a sexual thing. So
You didn't know that?
no, like listen, okay? I know.
Yo.
Yeah, so there's your answer.
What was that question there? It says, would you rather be with someone who don't brush his teeth or not wash his...
Ooh.
What happened?
I'm guessing he says or not wash. Is that like for us to like finish?
Or not
the
wash his hair. It says or not wash his hair.
Oh, I don't see the whole thing. Oh, that's why I should. I thought it was going to be like there, but I realized that's something else. Don't worry about
Because
it.
he's saying his, is he referring for y'all females to answer the question?
I mean, let's do it both ways. Would you like rather be
You
with
don't gotta wash your hair, shave it. I'll get the razor quick.
the hair?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Just go both.
Yeah, I'm getting the razor. There's no way. The teeth.
Like teeth, that's disgusting. Because it's after one day, that is too far.
Like,
Mhm.
like even if you're bald, you still have to wash your head.
Yeah, but people don't they don't wash their hair that often, anyways, right? Like it's not like a everyday thing.
There's
right?
people who don't wash their hair at all.
What?
Yes, there's people out
Yeah.
there that don't wash their hair at all. I mean,
No,
They
wash
still
their
wash their
hair.
hair. Yeah, they do.
People would.
And Andrew Tate said you can't use shampoo, so like.
Wait, how are people with dreadlocks? People's dreadlocks, do they wash their hair? I don't think they do.
Yeah, they do.
They do.
I've seen.
I thought they just put like oil in it or something.
No. They can still wash it.
They're like,
Aloe vera.
Oh.
Someone's like, "How are you gonna be with someone and their breath
this
is
is hot.
hot?"
I saw that.
Yeah.
They can just chew gum all day.
Ew.
They get that teeth whitening gum.
No.
Their teeth will look white. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
No. I know. I know. I'm sorry. Okay, guys. I think we're gonna end the live here. We just ended it on a lighter note. We've been at this for 2 hours now, so if you guys enjoyed the live, let us know. Maybe we'll do more if this is a thing that you guys want us to do. Eventually, when we get enough followers on TikTok, we might just start going live on TikTok too. But thank you guys so much. Thank you to our guests, MK.
Thanks for having us.
All of you guys behind me. Thank you guys so much for contributing. I'm going to post this on our page so that for those of you who haven't been able to watch the whole thing, you can watch it back later. And yeah, inshallah, we can do some more in the future.
inshallah.
Have a good night, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
watching.
Assalamu alaikum, y'all.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Alaikum salam.